What's going on, traders? Today, gold rallied to the upside while equities like NASDAQ melted. And in this video, I'm gonna break down why gold took off today and how come I knew that NASDAQ was gonna drop. And believe me, I know that sounds like a big promise. It's easy for somebody to say that I knew what the markets was going to do when we're looking back at it, right? That's kind of one of my biggest pet peeves when people always do this back testing, trading view replay type analysis. So just in case you have any doubts on what I'm about to show you, here are a few clips from my live call actually saying that I think NASDAQ is gonna drop before it dropped. For today, at least, I think it'll make sense to see it drop. I mean, they both make sense for the NASDAQ to drop or gold to push up, but like I said in the beginning, I think it still does make sense for a drop. And just in case you want some proof that it wasn't just me taking this trade and it was actually done on a live call, you can see the time and the date that I sent the link for the live call here, and you can even see some of the wins from the trades I'm actually about to break down right now. This isn't actually a post from the trade, but we can see his profit for today. $53,000 is where he's currently at. And then if we scroll up a little more, we have Makana right here who has $5,000 just from today's gold buys, which I'll talk about why gold pushed up. And we have this one right here, is his username. It just became a funded trader. So we are raking in the funded traders here, but let's get right into the trade and break down how these traders were able to make so much or hit whatever their goals were for the day. So these are the things that we're gonna cover in this video. And let's start off with the first one, high impact data recap. One of the things I like to do before the markets open is I like to check the economic calendar just so I know if there's any high impact data coming out that I should be aware of. And when we take a look over for New York session, right over here, I'll highlight anything that is important. Really, we just had this PMI data coming out, but it wasn't until 10 a.m. The markets open at 8 a.m. Eastern time. So generally speaking, I don't really have any worries about taking trades or entering something if the data is 2 hours away. If I'm like 10 minutes away from the data and it's too close, then I usually stay away. So in terms of high impact data, we don't really have anything to worry about. Now, what I do want to talk about is the headline that caused gold to take off higher. The first thing we'll do is we'll cover, you can already see what gold did, right? So I'm not even gonna bother doing the back testing, the replay feature. You can see what gold did. I'll show you exactly where our entry was and why it took off. Starting off with, if you can see the time down here, around 8:15, 8:20 in the morning, right? Looking down here at the bottom, you can see the time of when this started to push to the upside. In order to show this to you, I need to show you the news feed inside Day Trading University, because this is when we got these headlines right here. You can see here right at 8:20, we had some headlines from Trump come out. The first headline right here is basically just saying that Trump threatens the European Union with a 35% tariff if they don't meet obligations. Now, tariffs are inflationary. A lot of the times that we've been seeing the increase in tariffs, like the March, April time, that's when NAS was dropping and that's when gold was taking off. This is why inflation expectations were increasing. So if we have him threatening more tariffs, there's a possibility in and of itself that that one thing could be bullish for gold, meaning like that can push it up, right? So, but there was a second thing that came out, and this is actually something that I'll cover on the second half when we talk about NAS, but this headline right here, I will be announcing on semiconductors and chips in the next week or so. Basically what he's saying is he has an announcement coming for higher tariffs on semiconductors and chips. This is gonna be important later for NASDAQ, but we'll come back to this. So once again, taking a look at the time, 8:20 in the morning, this is when these headlines came out, and this is the exact same time when gold took off. When you're looking at just technical analysis, this is, you're creating your lower lows, your lower highs, your lower lows. This is a very, very risky entry to be getting in anywhere down here. Technically, once again, if you're only trading technicals and you don't really understand what's going on here, you need to wait for this shift of structure to happen and actually break here, then you should be looking for it. But then again, most traders, for some reason they teach this, you should only be waiting for the pullback and a retest. They say you should take the breakout, the retest. It doesn't make any sense. Hopefully, what I'm telling you does make sense, because I don't want this to come off as like, I'm not talking shit about using indicators or any of that stuff. I started that way. The reason I share the videos like this and just breaking down why the markets move is because that was the biggest game changer for me. When I finally understood that this move here on gold wasn't random, and all I had to do was have a resource that keeps me updated on top of the markets, what's happening, minute by minute, when I'm actually trading, this is when I can catch those opportunities and catch those trades. So I'm hoping that creating these videos and showing you there's something actually causing this to happen, that it's not random, that hopefully it opens that up for you too, and you'll never look at the markets the same. You'll also consistently be profitable. Now, it's not a guarantee, but based on my own experience and everybody inside Day Trading University, it works out pretty well. So when you're looking at an entry down here, the entry was here at the breakout. I was in NAS sells when this breakout happened, so I didn't take this entry on gold, but that's just one of my rules. I'm not entering two at the same time, but I still called this as a breakout happening at the same time. So pretty simple. If you are trading fundamentals or you're paying attention to things, you could wait for the candle closure up here for your entry. I would recommend entering impulsively because we had reasons for this trade, right? And then we'll put the stop somewhere here. And I mean, the 250 pip was the overall TP on this one. So that covers our first two things, right? Well, our first three things. We understand that there wasn't any high impact data, at least in the beginning of New York session. You guys also saw the headline that caused gold to take off. You can literally see the time of the headline and the time gold started to move. And you can also see the buy entries on gold. Like I was saying, for me, if it's headline driven or news driven, I will enter something impulsively. I don't really wait for candle closures, because if you do wait for candle closures, you might be entering 100, 200 pips up. So I'm very comfortable entering on an open candle, assuming the headline or the news makes sense for the direction of gold or whatever it is that I'm trading. Now for number 4, we're going to talk about the interview that changed my bias on NAS. And why did it change my bias? If we take a look at NAS right here, and you saw my video yesterday on NASDAQ, I had been taking buys in a couple places here. So the first entry was here, the second entry was here, and NAS took off. I wish I had held this whole thing. I was even telling everyone in DTU, this is going to be a swing trade or an intraday trade. Now, something happened today that changed my bias, because originally when I first started, I was looking to see a pullback in buys until this right here is what changed everything. Now, if we take a look at the time, you already saw the headline. Once again, 8:15, right? This stuff isn't random. I already showed you the headline, but let's bring it up one more time, because now I'm talking about NASDAQ, not gold. This headline right here that says, I will be announcing on semiconductors and chips in the next week or so. So when we're thinking about these headlines, what is it that's going to be impacted when the potential prices for semiconductors and chips are going to go up? The tech stocks and the big companies that use them, think about iPhone, Microsoft, Apple, things like this are probably going to be impacted. And if you increase the prices on them, pretty sure these companies, the tech stocks, will fall. Now, what is NASDAQ made up of? It's mainly made up of like 70 to 80% tech stocks. If you take a look at, this is my NASDAQ top 8 chart, look at how much equities fell, right? We have Nvidia, Microsoft, Meta, Broadcom, Tesla, a little bit of both direction. Google, I can explain later. We had a headline that came out that Google actually won a contract today, so I'm not gonna go too deep into this, but for the most part, all of them dropped. So if this headline is going to change my bias on NASDAQ and make me wanna look for downside today, now, let's get into the final piece of this, which is the 2 break-even trades, then finally the winning trade on NAS. Now, the reaction on NAS was interesting. Remember, I was trying to keep my bias on this the whole time because long-term, I'm still looking for upside on NAS. The markets are 90% priced in for interest rate cuts, but being a day trader is beautiful because if you're paying attention, I knew that we were going to get this drop, but yesterday I knew that we were going to get the spike up. You can play both directions when you're actually paying attention to fundamentals like this. Now, the reaction on NAS was this one right here. That was the candle that we got when Trump made the announcement. Now, I had my first entry somewhere down here, and I think I had my stops here. On my other chart, I have a resistance area here. So our stop was here. This wicked me out. So this trade actually ended up being a loss. The entry looked something like, there was just a lot of volume. So I had entered here, it went right to TP, so I was in profit on it. I'll actually just show the recording of it if we can. Now, my second entry on NAS was here. Now, what happened here, 8:45 in the morning. Let me show you the Discord one more time because we have something else in the news feed, which is really important to know. Right here, Trump ends remarks on CNBC. I can't tell you guys enough. I've been trading news, headlines, speeches, fundamentals for 5 years. Every single day. And I've been doing it live for 3.5 years. So I have a lot of experience with this. When I see that there's an important person speaking, a central bank speaker, a president, if he's saying something important and the markets are reacting, usually if we get this choppy price action, when they are done speaking, I normally see the markets clean up a little bit. That's why I took this entry here. I had a resistance here, I saw that it rejected, and I haven't changed my bias. I'm still looking for downside on NAS. I just hate being in consolidation. So I ended up getting break even on this one too. The reason I did that was because price action was really slow. Based on the comments that Trump said, that he just announced that they're gonna increase prices on semiconductors, I think that's a pretty big deal. So if it's going to drop after he finishes his speech, I'm like, this should drop. To be fair, it did drop, but this was slow enough that I was like, you know what? I'm gonna wait for the stock exchange to open and I'm gonna take my entry afterward. So there were a few entries here. The first one, this was at the stock exchange open. too fast for me. I didn't want to take this. And remember, there were some people who took this on the live call. They were just, it's different because I'm explaining and talking a lot, and sometimes I just don't enter impulsively, but this is what I was looking for. I wanted to see that wick push up and then drop. Now, I did still take buys here. And this one, I also got break even on. I was on this candle here. Now, the reason I took buys is because long-term, I'm still looking for upside on NAS. In this moment right here on this drop, when it recovered the whole thing, I'm still sitting here like, I don't think this announcement on semiconductors is going to be a long-term move, but I also don't know how far down NAS is going to drop. So I'm willing to change my trade, meaning like, I'm not changing my bias. I'm still short-term bearish, long-term bullish on NAS, even as I'm making the video right now, even though I still took these sells on NAS. But it's just understanding what happened today and why I'm looking for these sells. Now, this didn't end up playing out. The buys played out perfectly, but the sells didn't. Now, what happened here? How come we have this big gap? If we look at the time here, 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern. Remember I said in the beginning of this, the first thing I like to do is pay attention to see if we have any economic data coming out. We had services PMI data come out below expected. You see the little lightning bolt right there? That means it came out with a surprise lower. Okay, so a surprise below expected. Let's see if NAS drops. Now, non-manufacturing PMI measures the services industry, which makes up for 70%, 80% of the United States GDP. So it's a pretty big deal. And we just saw it come out below expected, which could cause market fear. So I now have two things that are in my favor for NASDAQ to drop. Number one, the fact that Trump talked about increasing the prices on tariffs for semiconductors and chips. Number two, we just got really bad data. Now, that's why I had so many break-even trades here, because it's like, I want to take sells here, and I'm like, shit, I hate that it's consolidating. I'm going to wait for another breakout. This one, too fast for me. I ended up taking the buys here, but this entry here, perfect. I wish I held the whole move, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. Beautiful, beautiful trade. Ending the day in profit, I'm happy with that. And honestly, unless if something changes, I'm just looking at these pullbacks to continue taking more upside on NAS. Now that depends if something else happens or something, we have to be careful with these semiconductor announcements, but usually when this drop happens, that's the market pricing it in, and we're still expecting rate cuts. So I'm personally still bullish on NAS, but just like this trade right here, it can change.